Week 12 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few defense DST units I would start this week. The first one, the Detroit Lions. So this Lion team, a lot of categories at top 10 in football this season. And this week, a pretty good matchup versus the Giants. They give up the 12th most fantasy points to DSTs on the season. We'll see if Jackson Dart plays or not in this ball game. And the last couple weeks for this defense, week 7 versus Tampa Bay, which is a good offense. 9 points allowed, 4 sacks, an interception, a fumble recovery. Week 9 versus the Vikings, 27 points allowed, 5 sacks, and INT. Week 10 at Washington, 22 points allowed, 2 sacks. And week 11, I know they lost the game, but 16 points allowed to that Eagle offense in Philadelphia, and the sacks pretty impressive. So this week, we'll see, like I said, if Dart plays or not. But if Jameis Winston's in their quarterback, I think Detroit, they could create a few turnovers. They're going to get the pressure led by Aiden Hutchinson. And like I said, they're a top 10 option defensive category. So this week, coming back home and coming off a bad loss where they could have won that game if the offense was better, I think they go out there. This defense, a good ball game. Next start, the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns, they've been a solid defense in terms of fantasy football a majority of the season. They get to the quarterback led by Myles Garrett. They create some turnovers, and even at times they hold the opponent's points down. So the last few weeks for this defense, week 7 versus Miami, 6 points allowed, 4 sacks, a pick 6, 3 interceptions, fumble recovery. Week 8 in New England, 30 points allowed, 6 sacks, an interception, a fumble recovery. Week 10 at the Jets, 27 points allowed, 3 sacks, and INT. In week 11 versus Baltimore, 23 points allowed, but 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, one of them for a touchdown and a fumble recovery. So they create chaos, they create turnovers. And this week it's a good matchup with the Vegas Raiders that give up the 3rd most fantasy points to DSTs on the season. So like I said, Cleveland could get to the quarterback. Geno Smith, he's been a turnover machine majority of the season for this Vegas Raider team. And with all those factors and led by Myles Garrett on the defensive end, they're definitely a DST I would start this week. The next defense is the Seattle Seahawks. So this Seahawks defense, one of the better units in the league. They went into Los Angeles, and I thought they did a pretty good job at that Ram offense. I know they gave up 3 touchdowns, but that's still pretty decent in my opinion, considering the type of offense they run over there. And in the second half, they didn't really do much with that Ram offense. Week 7 versus Houston, 13 points allowed, 3 sacks, and INT. Week 9 at the Commanders, 14 points allowed, 4 sacks, and INT, a fumble recovery. Week 10 versus Arizona, 22 points allowed, 5 sacks, 2 fumble recovery touchdowns from DeMarcus Lawrence. In week 11 at the Rams, like I said, 21 points allowed, a fumble recovery. So this week, a slam dunk matchup at the Tennessee Titans. Give up the most fantasy points to DSTs on the season. And this Titan team has no one. Cam Ward, it's been a tough rookie season. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, not much going on in the backfield. Calvin Ridley out for the season, broke the leg last week. And now it's down to Alec Almeida and Van Jefferson in this offense. I think Seattle, they could get off to an early lead and take apart this offense with their defense here in week 12. And they're definitely a defense I would start at Tennessee. The next DST is the Baltimore Ravens. So Baltimore has the New York Jets coming in. And this defense over the last couple of weeks, they're getting healthier and playing as a unit once again is Baltimore. So now they were 1-5 on the season, and they definitely wrote the ship now as this Baltimore Raven team at 5-5. Week 8 versus Chicago, 16 points allowed in that one, and a sack and interception. Week 9 at Miami, 6 points allowed, 2 sacks and interception, 2 fumble recoveries. Week 10 in Minnesota, 19 points allowed, a sack, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery. In week 11 at Cleveland, only 10 points allowed, 3 sacks and interceptions. So they're getting to the quarterback of late. They're creating turnovers. And this week it's a slam dunk matchup with Tyrod Taylor and the New York Jets coming in. With Taylor, he's taken some big hits throughout his career. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's a backup, and I think he's prone to a couple turnovers in this ball game. So if they get off to an early start as Baltimore, that's where the defense starts teeing off and making plays. And the final DST, I would start the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jaguars this season, I know they're giving up points, but this week it's a good matchup at the Arizona Cardinals, where their offense does put points on the board, but also turns over the football and takes sacks with Brissett in their quarterback. The last few weeks for this Jags defense, week 9 at Vegas, 29 points allowed, 2 sacks and INT. Week 10 at Houston, 30 points allowed, 2 sacks, an interception, fumble recovery, or return touchdown. In week 11, they shut down a high-powered Charger offense coming into Jacksonville, 6 points allowed, 3 sacks and interception. So like I said, Arizona turns the football over. They give up a lot of sacks. Who give up the 4th most fantasy points to DSTs on the season. So I think Jacksonville, they're not going to play at an amazing level in this game like they did, I think, versus the Chargers, but still a defense that's going to go out there and put some points on the board. A few defense DST units I would start for week 12 of the fantasy football season.